Today I'm here with the 2018 Mazda CX-3 all-wheel drive. This is the Grand Touring. As you can see, we've got 18-inch wheels, some nice accents throughout. We've got this aluminum and black trim on the side skirts. I like the overall look of this CX-3. I think, especially in this color, it just works well. It's got kind of a chunky, just a stylish, chunky appearance to it. You know, it's still a small vehicle. This is basically about the same size as a Mazda 3, but visually I think it rides a little bit higher, and also it's got all-wheel drive, which makes a difference. So let's look on the inside. One of the complaints I have about this car is that it's just a little bit tight in here. With the driver's seat set to my driving position at 5'10", I have just enough legroom, but barely, and it's just a little bit tight. There's definitely plenty of headroom back here, but overall, I just feel a little bit cramped anywhere but the front seats. That said, the materials in here are quite nice. Lots of leather and different surfacing. You've got some Alcantara type suede on the door inserts, as well as some leather, red leather that's nicely stitched. And then you have this kind of fake carbon fiber, which doesn't really add much. I'm not sure why people are doing fake carbon fiber these days. You can see here that you don't necessarily have a center console. It does give you a little space to put your phone in here with like a tab that'll keep it secure when you're driving spiritedly. But that armrest I mostly leave in the upright position anyway. As you can see on the interior, pretty nice design in here. Looks good. Same deal with the front seat as with the back seat. You've got all these different surfaces and, you know, suede inserts in here, and I think it's a nice place to be. Let's go over to this side, because in my press car, this door handle is broken. And let's go into the back here in the trunk. I'm kind of surprised at how little space there is back here as well. This is such a high platform for the trunk. I feel like it should go much deeper, but maybe because of packaging and everything, and including all-wheel drive on this platform, they just weren't able to do it. You've got this other second area where you can put flat things. I guess if you buy a painting, you can put that in here or something, or a laptop, or things that you don't want to be seen from the outside. And then in the bottom, you've got a subwoofer and a spare tire, as long as with some tools, tow strap, all that good stuff. Alright. I was moving some, just like a couch and some pillows and things this week, and I couldn't really fit a whole lot in the interior of this. I think the overarching theme of this review is going to be, for my money, I'd rather have a Mazda 3 or the CX-5. But still, let's go through and let's take this thing for a drive, see how it does. This has the G vectoring control, really good automatic transmission, decent brakes, and for an all-wheel drive hatchback, it actually doesn't weigh that much. It's only, I think it's 29.52 pounds curb weight, which is pretty good. It's about 150 pounds heavier than the standard front-wheel drive CX-3, and I think it's around 146 horsepower, 146 pound-feet of torque. Honestly, not a lot of power. The engine in this does leave some to be desired, but because of the transmission and the chassis dynamics, it does kind of make up for that lack of power in those departments. We've got a little bit of wetness out today, so we can kind of get a better feel for that G vectoring control. The best way I can describe it is it just kind of it helps you hold a line in low grip situations that you normally wouldn't be able to hold, where understeer might kick in. It's a pretty good system. It works pretty well. We'll test it out here in just a little bit on some entrance ramps. Pickup from a stop is pretty good. I know earlier this week I drove this in the snow, and I was pretty impressed with how the all-wheel drive system responded. It's a very good system. It gives you a lot of confidence when driving. The only drawback is you can't disable stability control. So if you could, this would be a fantastic buy because you could just hoon around in it. It would be great. It's super well balanced. It's responsive. It does just a great job getting you off the line. And these tires do a pretty decent job in the wets, in the slick stuff. So merging onto the highway, 50 miles an hour, 60 miles an hour. It's got enough power for everyday use, but if you're really trying to hustle this thing and have some fun, you're gonna be a little bit disappointed. I think the front-wheel drive might have just a little bit more power to weight, which will help, but the all-wheel drive does feel slightly sluggish in this situation. I believe gas mileage on this is rated at about 32 highway, 27 in the city. So not too bad for an all-wheel drive car. These Skyactiv motors, with their high compression, do remain pretty fuel efficient. You can throw it into manual here and in sport mode. You get really nice, crisp, responsive downshifts. The engine doesn't sound particularly inspiring at those RPMs, but that's alright. Just taking it around a corner here, you can feel that G vectoring control just give us more and more cornering ability as we push through that corner in a situation that probably would warrant quite a bit of understeer. It holds its line. It does a nice job. Let's take it out of sport mode. One of my favorite features this time of year, as always, is just the fact that you can have heated steering wheels and heated seats. The lowest heated seat button is a little bit warm, but it's pretty comfortable to leave on all the time. And the heated steering wheel only heats this part of the wheel. The top and the bottom of the rim aren't in that heating area. So it gets a little bit hot with bare hands sometimes, but with gloves on, it is perfect. Like I said earlier, brakes feel good in this. There's definitely more brake than engine in this car, which is never a bad problem to have. I will say that this all-wheel drive does kind of, it feels like it just kind of downplays the chassis just a tad. I feel like I could get just a bit more playfulness out of the front-wheel drive variant of the CX-3. That said, the trade-off is that this is really planted. You have a lot of confidence when driving this car, and especially in the slippery, wet, and snow, this feels fantastic. Give you a little taste of passing power there. I love what Mazda is doing with their transmissions these days. This in the CX-3 and in the Mazda 3 and the Mazda 6 and the CX-5 especially, the transmissions are just phenomenal. They're really responsive. They do a great job giving you the gears that you need and the times of need. So how can I sum this car up? You know, I'm a little bit confused as to where this fits within the Mazda lineup. I feel like they made it just to create a smaller crossover-looking vehicle. Practically, I would rather put my money into a Mazda 3 or a CX-5. I loved the CX-5 after spending a week with it. I found it to be playful, enjoyable to drive. It's actually, I think the front-wheel drive CX-5 is quite a bit more fun to drive than this all-wheel drive CX-3. And if for 30 grand especially, that's a lot of CX-5, honestly. So I'm a little bit confused as to where this sits in the Mazda lineup and within the marketplace. There's a lot of other vehicles out there with more space and more interior volume, and I think just a little bit more practical use. This maybe is a little bit more fun to drive than those variants, but If you're looking for something that's fun to drive and practical and a crossover, just get the CX-5. You can't beat it. And if you want something that's a little bit smaller, go for the Mazda 3 with just a little bit more interior space. And you can get a manual transmission with that. Really, I think the big selling point for the CX-3 is the all-wheel drive system. But it's let down by the fact that you can't really have fun and hoon with it, which is kind of interesting because Mazda's really been pushing this whole driving experience, and driving is fun, and the whole deal the last few years. But you can't disable stability control in their cars, which I would find really frustrating as a buyer, just because it's super easy to disable in the Miata. You just press a button once and everything's off. It's amazing. So a little bit confused on the CX-3 where it sits. It's a good car. I think this is almost edging on luxury, small hatchback crossover status. The interior materials are really nice. It has nice features like radar guided cruise control that works splendidly. You've got this little heads-up display that tells you some cool things, and the sound system's decent. This is kind of weird, but you get used to it. I think after a little while and a few times of use, you can really know your way around the infotainment, even though it isn't the best system out there. But as something with just I don't know if this really has that much more ground clearance than a Mazda 3. I think I've read that it's about the same. You can correct me if I'm wrong there, but it may even be the same. So anyway, those are my thoughts on the CX-3. I think this is a good little car for what it is if you have it on its own. But once you start comparing it to other offerings from Mazda and other offerings in the marketplace, unless if you're really in love with the way it looks, I don't think emotionally it's as stirring of a car to make me want to buy one, unfortunately. And there are some drawbacks that I've found that I think would turn off some buyers, specifically the lack of a center console and just overall interior spaciousness in here. So anyway, guys, let me know what you think. I know there's some CX-3 owners out there who really enjoy this car. Curious to hear your thoughts and opinions on your ownership experience. My opinions may change if I spent some more time in this car this week, but I just wanted to throw a review out here and let you know what I think after spending a few days in this car. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys in another video. Until then, take care.